सीधा मुंबई आपको लिए चलते हैं कि वहां पर वो क्या कह रहे हैं.
The developing world, it comprises about 85% of the global GDP and about 78% of the global trade. But more important, that almost 92% of the total patents emerge from G20 countries. G20 has played a very critical role in the past, at times when economic growth was impacted, when financial progress was impacted, and so on. And therefore, we are meeting at a point of time when the world is in the midst of a turmoil. Global growth has slowed down. There's a looming crisis of inflation. There is a huge crisis of vast number of people going below poverty line because of COVID. Almost 200 million people have gone below poverty line. Over 100 million people have lost their jobs. There's a crisis of global debt. 70 countries have been impacted by global debt. There's a huge crisis of climate finance and climate action. The global supply chains are disrupted. In the midst of all this, India has taken over the G20 presidency. Our belief is that every crisis is also a huge opportunity, and there cannot be a better opportunity than what the Prime Minister Modi has said, that India's G20 leadership will be decisive, will be inclusive, will be action-oriented. And therefore my belief is that the development working group, which to my mind is really the heart and soul of development as far as G20 is concerned and has to play a very critical and a major role, is very, very significant. And I think it's incumbent upon everyone who's representing their respective development working group to be very progressive, very forward-looking, and to draw up an agenda which can really enable the world to technologically leapfrog. I've for long worked in the field of development. Many years back, when I was working in the fisheries sector of Kerala, my job was to transform the lives of traditional fishermen. We were able to provide them new crafts, which were the fiberglass crafts. We were able to give them fishing nets, new fishing nets, which were then known as the disco nets in Kerala. And we were able to give them outboard motors so that they could go much further into the sea. But opening their bank account was a nightmare. It used to take us about 7 to 8 months to know your customer, chase physical bank managers, open their bank account. And I've seen the transformational journey in India. Today we open a bank account in less than a minute using our digital identity, which is the biometric. I have seen the transformation that this journey of being able to provide direct benefit transfers to citizens straight into their bank accounts and being able to use their data to track their performance. More recently, I was the CEO of Niti Aayog, and I was able to drive a program called the Aspirational District Program. This covered 115 of the most backward districts of India. The Prime Minister didn't call them backward, he called them the aspirational districts of India. And these districts were backward in education, in health, in nutrition, in infrastructure, in agriculture production and productivity. And there was a virtuous cycle of poverty in these districts. The challenge was to transform these districts. We used the power of data to bring in good governance in these districts. We had 49 outcomes across education, health, nutrition, and agriculture. We tracked them on a real-time basis. It was not possible when I was working in the fisheries sector of Kerala, because real-time data was not possible, because digitally we had not leapfrogged, everybody did not have a mobile. Today, we have access to real-time data. Today we have access to getting it on a mobile on a real-time basis. You are able to track it on a real-time basis. We were in this 115 districts on 49 outcomes. We created a sense of competition on performance in these 115 districts on the strengths of good governance through data. We got data on a real-time basis, put out that data in public domain, made the districts compete with each other, and put their ranking so that every citizen of these districts and every politician of these districts knew whether those districts were going up or down. And therefore, there was a huge sense of competition, and because of competition on the basis of data, these districts could improve radically. We could name and shame them, and we could put their ranking in public domain. So my belief is that things will never change without competition. Things will never change without competition, and competition will never happen without good data. And therefore, our ability to access good quality data on a real-time basis, get it verified by third parties, putting it in public domain so that the world knows what's happening. Bringing in transparency is the key. And I have seen these districts which remained in poverty for 65 to 70 years, transforming within a period of 2.5 to 3 years on the basis of the power of data. The data brought in good governance, and good governance brought in competition, and competition ensured that every district officer competed and transformed their districts. We then took this model to education, to health, and we started ranking states. We started putting this competitive spirit, and India is a very large country. It's bigger than 25 countries of Europe plus another 30,000 kilometers, but we put out the ranking of states, of districts, all in public domain. We received a lot of flack, but it brought in transparency. And to my mind, it's very important that we do this. The challenges are many. The challenges are that firstly, public data remains inaccessible because government officers don't want to put out data in public domain. They want to own that data for whatever reason. They are possessive about that data, and it's very difficult to either find that data or download that data. So the first thing is making this data accessible to the citizens so that academicians, researchers, everybody in government is able to access data. Secondly, the data is very siloed. You need a multi-sectoral approach to development, but data is very, very siloed across sectors. Even the health ministry will not know the data coming in, and they are not able to get the data from primary health center, the medical colleges, all in silos. There is data. It's not that there is a shortage of data. Data is existing everywhere, but it's all siloed. So break the silos. And that's important. I think the other thing is that the quality of data is very important. That quite often in government we feed garbage and you get garbage and you feed out garbage. So it's very important to improve the quality of data and ensure that it's not cluttered, it's not complex, it's very simple, it's easy to navigate, it's the simplicity of the data is key. And fourthly, I think it's very, very important that the data, government data are provided as aggregates, which is not good. We should break down the aggregation. And fifthly, I think it's very important that real-time data is provided. The key is that when I was a young officer, as a collector, I did a lot of work in my district, but I never knew whether my district was going up or down. I came to know 6 years later when the Department of Statistics published the statistics. But today, on mobile, you get real-time data. Real-time data is the key, and therefore, getting real-time data is really the key. So the challenge, I think, really, as we say, is that we've tried in government, in India, we've tried to bring in good data governance, and good data governance through one of our think tanks which I headed. We tried to bring in several initiatives. One was a data governance quality index which we brought in. Now what the data governance quality index does is that it enables you to do your own assessment of your data quality index, which is very important to my mind. You should be able to, there's huge amount of data being churned out, but every organization should be able to assess for itself whether it is doing good data governance around several criteria. And we really looked at self-evaluation of the data, which everybody should look at. And let me tell you, I'm absolutely convinced in my mind that the less developed countries, the developing countries, will never be able to technologically leapfrog, will never be able to grow, will never be able to prosper without the use of data and good governance, and using the power of data for development. And therefore, what we said is that there should be data generation, there should be data quality, there should be use of technology, there should be data analytics, and there should be data dissemination, and there should be a lot of AI and machine learning to be used on this, and best practices out of all this should be put out in public domain so that all others can copy. And therefore, every country needs to bring in this good governance quality, data governance quality index. That is my belief. The second thing which we've tried to do is to build up a national data analytics platform. And the national data analytics platform is because massive terabytes and terabytes of data is available, but it's all in garbage form. No academician, no researcher, no practitioner, no government officer is able to bring out best practices out of them. So what do you do? So again in Niti Aayog, we worked around a national data analytics platform which made data totally accessible so that machine readable formats, clear documentation, and APIs for easy access became the key. We ensured integration through standardized data schemes across all data sets so that they become interoperable. We ensured that there was a provision of highest spatial and temporal resolution data over time. We made it clean UI, UX, user-focused, user research-driven, and we ensured that it was highly interactive, high-quality interactive visualization tools, including mapping software. Now, these are really the key, because not that there is no data, But every government department thinks he owns data. The data may be available in marketplace, but he doesn't want to part with it. So you bring in that data, put it in a platform, make it easy, accessible to everybody, and bring out all the best practices. So my learning from all this is based on my own experience. And my experience is that I worked very hard in the lives of fishermen, but I could not transform it. I could not bring in competition. I could not bring out best practices because at that point of time in my career, there was no access to good data. I could not bring in good governance there, though I worked very hard. In aspirational district, I could transform 115 aspirational districts of India in 2.5 to 3 years' time.
आइए कुछ सीधे लिए चलते हैं संसद भवन, जहां पर आतंकी हमले की आज 21वीं बरसी है। आपको सीधे लिए चलते हैं वहां पर, क्योंकि आज जिन रणबांकुरों ने अपने प्राणों को न्यौछावर किया था मां भारती के